The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Another eventful Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill pay-per-view tonight from Dallas, Texas. Good stuff tonight, with some Ring of Honor stars making their way, embedding themselves into the action tonight. Very interesting when you have Ring of Honor's World Champion Jonathan Gresham defending his title against Chris Sabin tonight and winning in pure rules fashion, by the way. Then you have OGK, which, if you want to go back in history, you go back to 2015, when Adam Cole and his first faction, by the way, I bet you, for all of you WWE NXT fans, you might know Undisputed Era. We know we're going to probably hear the new group Paragon for Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Adam Cole, but the first faction he had was the Kingdom. And then after that, originally was the Kingdom with Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, and Matt Taven was kind of like the prodigy coming into the place. And then after that, Matt Taven would then resurrect the Kingdom, and he would have TK O'Ryan and Vinny Marseglia, now called Vincent. And now we're including it in a full faction now that went into the Hardcore War at the end of the match to really build some heat. So you got PCO that now joins Vincent, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett. And Maria Kanellis once again accompanied them at ringside. So we got that for the next set of tapings leading up to Rebellion, which is really cool. And Roxy is standing in the stands watching at ringside the Texas Death Match between Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo tonight. Good stuff. Anyway, I enjoyed the show. And of course, when you know there's other podcasters out there, well, we're only going to cover Battle of the Belts. No, Impact Wrestling's nothing, which is, it's dead. TNA, right? We got it. But not yours truly. As many of you know, King of Podcasts here, I still very much love Impact Wrestling. I watch it every week on Access TV. Even if I don't catch it a lot, right on the first run, I will watch the replays and I'll catch it. The only thing I think I missed in the last, 9 months, I think, was the Wrestle House episode at the end of the year and the Best Of show. Otherwise, I'm caught up. So to watch what they're doing right now, the TV show is a bit lackluster. It's kind of like what Ring of Honor has, that same kind of issue. And there are some things you do backstage. It's just depending on who they have out there. And of course, there are some stars that, when you don't have a Sami Callihan out there or a Ken Shamrock, and, when you've had some changes in the lineup, it's been a little bit different. And, when I look at who they've had as champions as of late, it's been different because of certain stars that I was hoping would be a little bit built up more than others. Right now, Trey Miguel is obviously the focus with where he's been going right now with the X Division title after the whole deal with Sami Callihan. And then Ace Austin, I just feel like has been lost in the mix, and I don't understand why. They just held him back. But I really like Ace Austin's work. And remember, we didn't have Tessa Blanchard anymore. But the one thing is, it doesn't matter if Tessa Blanchard or Jordynne Grace or whoever else, Taya Valkyrie is in the main event. The women hold the main event tonight, and it was the right move on the card. So let's go into it, and we'll also talk about Battle of the Belts, which did happen tonight, same time. I don't understand you can't do anything about it. I mean, they both had their plans. It was all stitched in, and no one was going to move one show over to the other. I would have hoped, because I know that in Vegas when Bound for Glory happened last time around, that Impact Wrestling kind of catered to the local crowd and started the show at 7 o'clock. What was it? Yeah, 7 o'clock local time in Vegas to have that show. So the fact that we're in Dallas, I was kind of hoping they would have moved the show to 9 o'clock Eastern and then start at 8 in Dallas, so they could have got that going and then maybe hopefully go ahead and catch the match, and that would have been great too. But they didn't do that, and that's okay. Regardless, they chose not to do that. One thing I will say is that Impact Wrestling is getting a little bit reliant upon the free agents they've brought in. When you had some of the matches they had tonight that were really just focused on where Mickie James is front and center in the main event. And that's not a shot against her. It's just the fact that the company is definitely going after the veterans that they've brought on board that have WWE clout, and they are here. And, listen, I can't knock them for doing that because of where they are in the situation. Where they haven't felt like they got any traction off of some of the stars you're trying to build up, which they're still doing. When you have Moose, you have Trey, Miguel, and we have Tasha Steelz tonight. But, and Josh Alexander also in that same vein, of the current crop. But for me, then there's also just some of the other stars they have that are in certain spots that, I wish there was somebody there that could be brought up more to the forefront. They have their stars that they have built themselves. When I look at Jordynne Grace, Rosemary, Eddie Edwards, Tasha Steelz definitely in that mix as well. When you're looking at Chris Sabin, obviously, Rich Swann, Willie, Mack to a certain extent as well, I think would be in the same vein, because I didn't think, Willie Mack had a bit of clout from Lucha Underground, but he has definitely been built up a bit more here. But they have never chosen to really put more, besides the X Division title, never decided to put more on him in terms of a world title shot. I mean, they had him there, but, it was against Kenny Omega, but that was it. He was considered one of the people that Kenny Omega took on for the said Ring of Honor, to be the Impact World title. Excuse me, Ring of Honor. But that's where I'm at. I really do enjoy where Impact Wrestling is able to go ahead and do some more homegrown talent, getting the shots, while the free agents are much more of the, kind of the grooming process, where they're an enhancement. I want them to be enhancement talent. When I look at, I know you can't do that because we need some of these stars to not just be an enhancement talent right away. We need to build them up to be something more. So in the show tonight, off the bat, one match did not happen tonight, and that was the Knockout Tag Team titles, the Inspiration, and I don't know if it was COVID or not, but they did not wrestle tonight, and that was, so that match got scrapped, and I'm guessing that's going to be in the tapings coming up. So that wasn't defended. So they were left with less matches on the card, but they definitely filled it up. They didn't have a problem with that. Jake Something defeated Madman Fulton to start off the night. Jake Something, they try to work with him. They still try to put him out there in a featured spot. When they give him time, I don't see anything special. Jake Something just feels generic, and I hate the something thing. I know they try to build him as a babyface, and they've given him time, and they split him off from the Deaners, and it hasn't gone anywhere. I think Jake Something needs to be in a tag team somewhere. I don't know where he's going to be here, but it's just not working. And Madman Fulton, I don't see where there's any point where he's going to split off from Ace Austin anytime soon. He's a good big guy, but they just haven't stood him out, and he hasn't really, the character hasn't got a chance to really put any layers on him. He's still the tough, heavy guy for the henchman for Ace Austin, and that's all it is. And there's not been much more to that. He's been the enforcer. We want to see something more if Madman Fulton's going to be somewhere else, but he's been in this role for a long time right now. Mike Bailey, who is new to the mix, because I don't think I ever heard of Mike Bailey before we got into the night. It was his debut tonight. As he came in, he was working at Destiny Wrestling, so he's definitely working where Josh Alexander's been working a lot of. So there's that whole Canada connection that brought in Mike Bailey here. And his name on the indie circuit is Speedball Mike Bailey. And I saw that pop up, and I wasn't really paying attention, but I saw that was a pre-show match they also pushed in as well. So Mike Bailey, in his first match tonight, debuting in Impact Wrestling, he gets over Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and Laredo Kid, which is amazing to me. And it was a match I missed because it was just kind of running. Was going to catch in the main event. Would have been nice to have this match on the main card, but obviously had a lot of things working on it, so they didn't do that. They did have to make a lot of time for a lot of matches tonight, so let's just get into it. They did have a pretty well done show. Listen, I think the card and the way it was booked was really well done. The few things they do when they actually have to do live, they might miss a camera shot. Like when I saw one of Moose's moves that looked kind of bad because we missed him going off the top rope and going in through a table. We kind of missed the spot. And there was one shot where Rhino comes into the match and he hits, I think, Luke Gallows, or I forget who it was, with a chain to the head. And Diener, that's right. He was supposed to connect to Diener, and it completely missed. So the camera shot wasn't great. That was one thing that was missed in there. But anyway, into the main show tonight. The one absolute positive that came out of this show, and I'm sure everybody just say it after me, Tom Hannafin, the former Tom Phillips of NXT and SmackDown fame in WWE. He is now doing, at least as far as we know, it looks like he's doing this show, and I'm guessing he's going to be doing the tapings with D'Lo Brown coming up. And I'll tell you, Tom Phillips or Tom Hannafin, a welcome change for Matt Striker. And something tells me that Josh Matthews probably was able to go ahead and infiltrate. You know, Josh Matthews was in that company for a long time, and I'm pretty sure, I don't remember if Tom Phillips and Josh Matthews connected with each other back in WWE at that time, but I think he did. So Josh Matthews, you know, I think that's where that relationship comes from. But I'm sure there's probably other people that reached out, and, you know, the chance was here. He took time away. Really don't know why he left, but of the announcers that are out there for them to go after, this was really great. Look, we're not going to get more Ronaldo once again to do like you did with Kenny Omega and Moose. We're not getting that one more time, okay? This right here was, oh no, it wasn't. Was it Kenny Omega or was it Rich Swann he took on? That was the initial match, right? It was the first time Kenny Omega defended the title on Impact Wrestling in a pay-per-view. I think that's what it was. I forget. It's been a little while. Either which way, Tom Hannafin fit really well in this show. He knew everything that was going on. He must be following the product. Was very well-rounded and just felt comfortable. And I thought the way he sounded here, listen, and it's nothing against Matt Striker, but Matt Striker needs to be an exciting thing going on. When he just has to kind of just mull into a match, and he starts with that raspy voice of his, it's like, you know, here we go, and the Good Brothers are going to ride a retainer. It just gets that rolling voice of his where Matt Striker has to speak at a higher octave. He has to be kind of yelling for him to be projecting a better voice. Then he just goes ahead and says, you know, Jordynne Grace, she goes outside the ring, and she's going to, I mean, it gets droning after a while. I liked him better in Lucha Underground with Vampiro because it was always more or less that kind of excitement because the tempo brought that out in him. But in these other crowds, it's a different story. With Tom Phillips and NXT, we were used to that because the NXT crowd at Full Sail was about this size. What they had in the factory in Dallas, Texas tonight, which was a pretty decent crowd. Sounded like about 500 people in there. I don't know if it was that much. It might have been a little bit less. But it looks like they're not necessarily, you know, stacking up the crowd in there to really build up. Looks like they only build out a certain amount for the venue here compared to how they did with Sam's Town, which was not a big crowd. Like, they did a pretty decent crowd for Bound for Glory. I'm guessing it was probably about 800 to 900 people there. I think they said it was like that much. 700, 800, 900, something like that. And then this one probably was around the 500 mark. But now I'm curious what they're going to be able to do when they start going on the road and they start working other shows. Because they already got a tour coming up. I already know they're going to be coming to Fort Lauderdale, to Pembroke Pines, specifically the Charles Dodge Center. I'm almost considering to go there to go watch the show. I don't know if I'd go yet, but I'm thinking about it. So Tom Hannafin fitting really well, like a nicely fit glove. Fit like a glove here. That's the cliche. Fit like a glove with D'Lo Brown on commentary tonight. And then with that, you go into the matches, and the inaugural Knockouts Ultimate X match started the show tonight. 9 minutes to go in this. I thought it was a lot longer. Jesus, man. Alisha Edwards, Chelsea Green, Jordynne Grace, Lee Frost, and Rosemary in the match tonight. And Jordynne Grace was pretty stupendous in this match because, like I said, when you're talking about certain stars, Ultimate X is ultimately a match that is, you know, for X Division. And I'm not saying anything in terms of that Jordynne Grace couldn't have been part of this, but, you know, I guess she could. Because I don't know how much it works in terms of what you see in terms of like the size and scale. Because, you know, her build is 5'3", 150. I'm still kind of amazed at that. But, yeah, I guess so. But the thing is just, I just feel like she looks a lot more. I mean, you see the muscles on her. She just looks bigger. So I wouldn't have been surprised if she was a bigger wrestler in terms of I'm not saying fat. I'm saying just bigger in terms of just like she's just thicker because she is. And so when I looked at her, getting up to the top rope to go ahead and climb that, go grab the Ultimate X. Thought it was pretty good because I really was surprised at how much upper body strength. It's not just her just pumping just to go and build the muscles. She's got great upper body strength and really handled herself well in that, going up quite a few times. Rosemary was not much of an effect here. Lady Frost had a really great move going off one of the scaffolding to hit everybody down there with a big plancha on the entire crew. Chelsea Green at the end of the match was up there with Tasha Steelz, and they were kind of battling for it, which I thought Chelsea Green was actually going to win this. But no, Tasha Steelz, which now she's most likely the next person to go up against Mickie James, but we don't know where Roxy is going to be coming in the mix as the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. We don't know where we're going to go with that. But Tasha Steelz, she might get a title shot coming up next pay-per-view, the next Impact Plus pay-per-view, sometime before Rebellion, I'm imagining. So there's going to be that to go and think about. That'll be interesting. And it's just good to see Tasha Steelz, after Fire and Flavor, that they decided to go ahead and give her this shot. Like, it was, this was a pretty gruesome match for 9 minutes for what it's worth. It was a good match. I think the women did very well. Knockouts did very well doing an Ultimate X match. But it was surprising it was short. I was actually surprised it was that short. It felt longer to me when I really look at it. Then you have Trey Miguel against Steve Macklin, former Steve Cutler, and it was the Impact X Division Championship. And if Macklin lost, he would no longer be able to challenge for the title as long as Trey Miguel is champion. And Trey Miguel kind of playing a little Radicals kind of feel to it with two other people coming out as he goes and spray paints the screen as he makes his way out for the match. And Trey Miguel has been booked very well. Like, he is a strong champion, and somewhere down the line, Trey Miguel could option C if he keeps that belt long enough. Whenever Destination X comes time, Trey Miguel would be very good. And that's the only thing I'm hoping for, is that when I see X Division champions and they make their way up, that's what I'm kind of weary about, because of the last couple of stars that have been X Division champion, and to see them not get that world title is a little bit disconcerting to me. When I think back, well, Josh Alexander won the title at Bound for Glory, but did not get to retain the whole screw job by Moose. Thus, we're here with the match with Jonah tonight. And then you had Rich Swann, who did win the X Division title, and later on he did get to go after the world title. But remember, we hadn't anybody else that had gone option C since Chris Sabin or Austin Aries done it. Other than that, I'm trying to think of who else. My thing is that for Trey Miguel, the initial post-Radicals breakup when MSK broke off, went to NXT, where they're doing fine over in NXT 2.0, and looks like you're definitely going to be considered part of the brand right now. I don't know for how long, but they're there, and there's obviously a feeling that those stars can continue to do well in NXT. We'll see where they're going to go when it comes to the main roster, but we don't know yet, because that's still, they might have been stars that were considered from the free agent side when Triple H was still kind of running things, and Triple H, they might still be tagged as stars from the Triple H era that might get cut, but they're under contract right now, so they're one of the last ones that got under contract, so they could keep them. And they're not necessarily, maybe they're willing to go ahead and work themselves into a way to that they can actually stay on that main, or they can work their way towards the main roster, because I don't see why, Carter and Lee could not make their way up to the main roster. I mean, they could do something there. And obviously, with them putting a little bit of faith with Matt Riddle as a shaman helps them out. But now, back to Impact Wrestling. Trey Miguel could be primed up down the line, much like Josh Alexander, for the world title. And why not? Trey Miguel always was a standout in the X Division. So for him to actually have this long run with the X Division title is good. And Steve Macklin had not lost until this point. And Trey Miguel considerably gets the pinfall in a very gruesome match. These guys really they were pretty brutal with each other. And every match felt like that. Like, the whole night felt hardcore. Like, I almost felt like Hard to Kill could have been called Hardcore Justice the way it was, because it really was. Every match had some kind of plunder, if I'm right. I can't remember if Trey Miguel and Steve Macklin, all I remember was one thing with Steve Macklin was The one movie where he had Trey Miguel pinned up against the ropes and it was upside down, and just, wedging his shoulder into Trey Miguel just looked gruesome. Really did look well. That match was really well done. Trey Miguel wins and retains the X Division title. The right person, and the fact that we're continuing to have these homegrown stars continue to be, staying with their belts is what I want when you think about it. So good to see this here. Next match, Jonathan Gresham versus Chris Sabin. Pure rules being applied for the Ring of Honor World title. Ian Riccaboni joins Celebrity as a guest commentator. And it does make me feel good that we have Ring of Honor stars on this show. So Ring of Honor's already had certain stars on. Jonathan Gresham has already defended the Ring of Honor World title at GCW and I think some other shows. So he's fine. And also, his wife is his wife is Jordynne Grace, right? So they're, same company. I think there's a kind of relationship there. And Jonathan Gresham continues to do here a very good match with Chris Sabin. They did a really good job of using the rope breaks when it came to the submissions, because that's where both of them really strong suits in this, especially with Gresham to find his way out of, losing the belt. Chris Sabin getting one chance at a pinfall, and the rope break, one of the few rope breaks allowed, Gresham uses to go ahead and bail himself out of a pinfall. Good stuff. The match overall is very well done. Good, solid match. Gresham defends and retains the Ring of Honor World title. So that's good. It's nice to see where Ring of Honor is still being presented. Also the fact that Impact Wrestling here, there is something to be said about where, I know we talk about the fact that there is we've had that new wrestling alliance. We know AEW is no longer really into that right now. They definitely are stuck with, they're really focused more on their relationship with New Japan and a little bit of NWA, obviously, when it comes to, working together. So AEW will work with them. And as we know, the Impact Wrestling relationship fizzled probably for a time. Who knows? But really, it's understood where Kenny Omega did work in Impact Wrestling. They did have a little bit of back and forth. And at the moment, Good Brothers are no longer working over at AEW. So Good Brothers are officially Impact. So any kind of thought process there is done at the moment. So, you have that. And, Impact still has some of the New Japan stars coming in. You still have Chris Bay. But what they're doing right now is much like how MLW gets their relationship, where they're getting, they'll get AAA stars. But they'll get they'll get the younger AAA stars to work and get them involved. So Army, Cinerez, and Laredo Kid is not so much in that, but Laredo Kid definitely is somebody that he'll get to work a lot of shows, a lot of different places. He's worked over at NWA, he's worked over at AEW, and he's worked here in Impact Wrestling for quite a bit. So he's getting NMLW, so he's getting his spots all over the place. And next match was very interesting. Jonah, I think, also had been undefeated leading up to this match with Josh Alexander tonight. But the story that was told, going back to the Thursday after Bound for Glory, where, at those tapings in Las Vegas, Josh Alexander, obviously pretty well angered up, wants to again get revenge back, wants to get back his belt, upset about the issues with his family and how they were treated, and then Jonah having the whole issue here, being brought into the mix, attacking the family more or less, and all of that going on. And Jonah was really booked, as we now know, is just for a program. So that's what the program was right here. These two battled each other. A very good match. 17 minutes they give this match for the singles match. That's more than they get the world title tonight, the Impact World title. The only matches they had more than that was the Hardcore War and the Women's Death match for the Knockouts title. So in this match, Josh Alexander and Jonah, these guys also, Jonah, what a heavyweight and so flexible. And I actually really enjoyed his match here. He hasn't lost anything from his stint at NXT and what he's done. I like the Jonah character, and, not much of a offshoot from what Bronson Reed was. But right here, Jonah was a very formidable opponent. They gave a very long match, and Josh Alexander, they're continuing to go and push the story. Is the guy that's almost got the ring. He had the ring, lost the ring, trying to get that ring back. So Scott D'Amore knows with Josh Alexander, and we already know when they led up to the match with him and Moose that Josh Alexander, when it comes down to it, his match with Christian Cage, the closing of the AEW storyline where you had an AEW star in Impact Wrestling, and to close that out. And then you have this deal right here with Moose, and the whole story is being embedded into it. And then just throwing roadblocks at Josh Alexander. I mean, you're continuing the story of Josh Alexander, and it's good, and you're just stretching it out. So you feel like Josh Alexander eventually is going to get back that title at some point. They're going to have to give it to him. Like, he got the belt, 10 seconds later, loses it all, and he's been in a tailspin, but he has now got himself back to a certain point because, in the match itself, they try to mention that, Josh Alexander was to the point of disqualification because it was doing too much, was not obeying to the referee's counts when it came to what he was doing in the ring, but was able to persevere and a good, strong finish, and, amazing what he was able to do with Jonah in the ring. That's a super heavyweight right there, Jonah. Really good match. And so Jonah's going to look good wherever he's going to go. It's just that he's just not going to be stuck in one place. So Impact gets the advantage of having Jonah here immediately after the NXT run. And he's here, and a hell of a program with Josh Alexander. So Josh Alexander, I think, benefited a lot from the program with Jonah altogether. 10-man hardcore war match. I like the fact that they actually put this out into more of a gauntlet where it was kind of a war games format, one person coming out against the other, and doing that without any cages and stuff like that. It was basically a war games match. Eddie Edwards, Rich Swann, Willie Mack, Heath and Rhino against the Good Brothers, and Violent by Design. Within the match itself, I thought it was kind of funny to see Heath come out and go and attack the Good Brothers and hit him with powder in the eyes. And Eddie Edwards had a great run over here. Rich Swann and Willie Mack also really looked strong here. Heath gets the pin. And then we have the attack. The story of this is the post-match angle, where all of a sudden we get Ring of Honor faction OGK. You get Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, then comes out Vincent, then comes out PCO, the former Ring of Honor World Champion. And yeah, this was a pretty significant group. We didn't get the foundation tonight. I mean, of the Ring of Honor stars we have right now that have come in, you got the world champ, you got the women's champ in appearance only, and the OGK, which now OGK has already been featured in NWA. They were on several of the pay-per-views that were already done by NWA, By Any Means Necessary, and Hard Times 2, which is what I talked about a few weeks back. So they've been out there since Ring of Honor closed up at Final Battle, and they've been working. And now we have Jonathan Gresham also been working, so they've been out there. But it wasn't so much an invasion as it was just adding a storyline here, a real wrinkle into all these tag teams right now. And, where Eddie Edwards, Rich Swann, Willie Mack, Heath, and Rhino, and how they're going to be added to the mix here. And I don't know if the heels are going to be part of this feud with this Ring of Honor faction coming in and disrupting things during this hardcore war match after the fact. I don't know. But there's a lot of matches you could put right there with Heath and Rhino, Rich Swann and Willie Mack. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do right there. I mean, if I wanted to see some matches out of this and the tapings coming up, like give me PCO and Eddie Edwards, give me Matt Taven and Mike Bennett against Heath and Rhino, or Rich Swann and Willie Mack. And then if you want to throw Vincent and PCO into a match, I don't know what you do, but there's some things you could do right there. Absolutely. And I don't know, Brody King has not been signed anywhere. Could Brody King come in and work some Impact Wrestling as part of this as well? Because then you could put BCO and Brody King together, or Brody King and Vincent. I don't know. You could do something with that. That'd be kind of interesting too, because I know they've all worked together in Ring of Honor. Matt Cardona, He's been helped greatly by the GCW stuff he's been doing right now. He is now kind of plotting and prodding against the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Trevor Murdoch, which I got to make this point in the tangent here. I am so happy. I am gleeful to see NWA back on YouTube. Billy Corgan, William Patrick Corgan, thank you, my friend, for bringing NWA back. So now we got power. We got power back on YouTube, and we got NWA USA. I got to watch NWA USA just a little while ago. Good stuff. The old school feel to it. I'm just glad NWA's back. I'll still watch the pay-per-views from time to time, but really, the convenience of being able to watch this on YouTube again, just like for NWA, just like for MLW, and just like for AEW putting on Dark and Dark Elevation, I love it. I love all this wrestling to watch every week. Even after these shows, I did watch Battle of the Belts and Hard to Kill simultaneous. I put a picture of that going up on YouTube, or to me on Twitter. And what I'll tell you too is I still got MLW Azteca to watch tonight because I haven't finished that. I think I only watched the first match. No, I haven't watched any of MLW Azteca yet. I gotta watch that. I'm curious about that all there. Then I have NWA Power, which I did not catch from Friday, which dropped on YouTube. I didn't get a chance to catch that yet. Season 7 of the NWA Power. Just to get back to that again. And here, docking into the fire once again into the open of the show, and Joe Galley leading us into the show. Also, I'll say this too. I've talked about NWA when it comes to the commentators. Joe Galley is great. I like him a lot on that show. NWA USA decided to make Tim Storm an authority figure. That's cool. And they added Austin Idol to be a foil heel announcer alongside Velvet Sky. I actually like that team better. Just saying, I actually like Austin Idol better in this role because Tim Storm, it's just way too goody crew. I don't know if that changed at all for the NWA Power show for this season. I guess Tim Storm's still doing commentary there, but I would definitely like Tim Storm to stay as an authority figure. Kind of not a commissioner, but they're putting him as a managing director, they call him. Or matchmaker, whatever you want to call him. I would actually prefer to see Tim Storm more of in a leadership role or something like that, as opposed to having him in commentary. Or back in the ring, honestly, because Tim Storm's going to the ring. Anyway, Matt Cardona has been working a lot, GCW champion before, and that's been good stuff. And W. Morrissey, actually, I have kind of enjoyed his work here going solo. And the whole deal with him and Moose and the promise of the title match. And the story they had with Moose and Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. And, Chelsea Green, again, getting the back end of a bad move becomes, if it's not a chair shot inadvertently by Matt Cardona, tonight she got stacked into a splash by Moose, which didn't help either. In the match itself, Moose was kind of just always the odd man out, playing the chicken shit heel very well, and sneaking away with the belt, as always. 16-minute match. It was good. W. Morrissey looking good here. Matt Cardona looking really good. Matt Cardona, I think he's done a pretty well job of getting himself repackaged. Because I do feel like the Matt Cardona character is definitely sprinting away from what he was as Zack Ryder. I think he's trying to keep himself away from that, and it's definitely, he's trying to, retool himself and what gimmick he wants to be and what his creative side is. So him and Chelsea Green, great item together. And Matt Cardona is playing enhancement. Moose is the focus here. W. Morrissey coming in could very well go after the world title. They could keep him around that main event, or they could put him in a featured feud. But there's something about W. Morrissey here that, he looks solid in this match. Moose still taking the belt. I wish there was somebody else that we could have right now that this mix. I want Moose with somebody else that's very formidable. Personally for me, I don't know when Sami Callihan's coming back, but I wish Moose and Sami would be fooling each other. I would love that. I'll tell you another one that I would like. And listen, you're going to call me, you're WWE all this. No. We can always bring Killer Kross back. There's history between Austin Aries, Killer Kross, and Moose. There's history there. So Killer Kross, you want to bring somebody back, bring him on back to take on Moose for the world title. I don't care how they do it, but Killer Kross coming back, TikTok at Moose, yeah, let's bring that back. I actually like that. And the truth is, if you want to have some other things where you kind of like stack the deck on Moose, Scott D'Amore does that, where you throw like a 4-way match on him, upcoming pay-per-view, whatever there is. Like, I wouldn't mind that either, if that's what they want to go and do as well. I could go for that. They have No Surrender coming up February 19th. So if you want to do some 4-way, 3-way matches there and keep Moose up in front and center, we could definitely go and go for that. By the way, they're going to some great little venues as well. I actually like that. So they got a couple tapings going on now for Impact that'll be after the fact going on in Dallas. And then they'll have tapings in Fort Lauderdale or Pembroke Pines, specifically, okay? And then they'll do No Surrender in New Orleans, which will be good. And they'll be at the Alario Center. I don't know what that's supposed to be. And then, again, they'll do tapings. And then they'll do Sacrifice March 5th. And then they'll have tapings in Louisville, Kentucky. They'll go to the 2300 Arena March 18th and 19th. That's going to be fun. That's going to be fantastic. And that'll take us all the way to Poughkeepsie, New York, and Rebellion on April the 23rd, the next pay-per-view coming up. Now, last match, Mickie James defending the Impact Knockouts title against Deonna Purrazzo, accompanied by Matthew Raywalt. But in the match beforehand, Gail Kim, who's been like the authority figure of the Knockouts division, who's also definitely had her issues with Deonna Purrazzo, made a point that Matthew Raywalt, that if he interfered in the match, even if it's a Texas Death match, no DQ, Deonna would be disqualified, Raywalt would be fired. So no matchup in there. This had everything. This was kitchen sink. So they threw out guitars, thumbtacks. They had some, they did a little bit of like almost like an ECW affair with matching chairs being thrown into the ring, one upping the other. And they went out and both put out color tonight. Hell of a match. I would have preferred Deonna Purrazzo to win. But, I have to understand, she did have that belt for a long time. And there's nobody else at the moment, until they brought in Tasha Steelz now to be number 1 contender, that they have really brought into the mix to go after the Knockouts title. But, this company's not afraid to go ahead and have a veteran come on board and hold on to that belt for a while so they can have another young upstart to take the belt. So when they had that long time of Kenny Omega, holding on to the belt, he wasn't the one that dropped the belt because he had the AEW title as well. It had to be Christian Cage on the opening night of Rampage. So Christian Cage holding the belt for a while. He's the one that dropped the belt. And it was to get Josh Alexander over, which it did happen. Now, Josh Alexander ultimately was the one that got over, and it did elevate him in that main event. Because I think with him now going into the match with Jonah, and the time they gave Josh Alexander, even though it was in the middle of the card, the Josh Alexander-Jonah match did have a lot of prestige behind it. I thought they gave a lot of time to that feud. Like, they're really good at giving the individual feuds in this company. The promotion, they do a good job of that. With Miguel and Macklin, they did the same thing here. And with Moose and Morrissey and the whole dynamic there with Matt Cardona, they've done a really good job. And the same thing with Mickie James, Deonna Purrazzo. But yeah, Deonna Purrazzo, has continued to be kept strong, and it just sucks that this is, I forget how many matches they've already had together. I mean, could they do a rubber match here after the fact? I mean, it's just that Mickie James is going to have to go with Tasha Steelz next. That's her next opponent. And I don't know where Deonna Purrazzo goes into the mix next. So I hope they don't kind of leave her, in the back end, and they kind of neglect her for a bit. Deonna Purrazzo still has so much value, and she's I like her so much as the knockout star there that I hope they'll do something with her. I don't know what it'll be, but put her in a feature feud or something. Like, keep her on the back burner and keep her around that knockouts title, because that is good stuff. And a hell of a match. Hey, Mickie James, man. Now, that's one thing I got to talk about as well as we wrap this up here, just for this part of Hard to Kill, because I got to talk about Battle of the Belts next. Okay. So I'm waiting till now to talk about Mickie James being announced on SmackDown on Friday night that she will be officially entering the Women's Royal Rumble match. So let's take a minute and talk about this story. I'm going to take a story from wrestling.com. So Mickie James went on to Instagram to react to her upcoming WWE return at the Royal Rumble, which was mentioned, pretty decently on the Hard to Kill pay-per-view tonight from Mickie James herself, from Deonna Purrazzo, and from Tom Hannafin on the broadcast tonight. Now, she wrote this on Instagram, quote, "Y'all talk about doors like you're doing big things. Bitch, I raise the bar and kick out the ceiling because that's what legends do. Yes, you heard right after tomorrow, Hard to Kill, I'm taking myself, my boots, and my Impact Wrestling Knockouts World title all the way to the Royal Rumble, Final Destination WrestleMania." And then Scott D'Amore reacted to the announcement, congratulating WWE on walking through the forbidden door in pro wrestling. Yeah, I know, it's okay. Now, this has to be something where Mickie James still has, obviously, some friends within WWE. We know that with Mark Carrano, it sounds like he was ultimately the bad man out, which after the whole mess that happened with Mickie James being released earlier, was it this year or last year? All that going on and the garbage bag, right? I believe that really would be an isolated incident for Mark Carrano, because I don't think the rest of it, it really does sound like that Mickie James did not really think that the entire company represented her in the same fashion. It was just the fact of the matter is that she's been released before by this company, but then it was the stink of Mark Carrano who specifically did what he did. That was the shitty part. And, Mickie James is more than professional enough to go ahead and not be so concerned about it. So that's what happened there. But now what's interesting is that, with Mickie James, will she be able to go ahead and carry the Impact Knockout World title into that show or make mention of it? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't expect Mickie James to be on any programming until the Royal Rumble. What I expect is, and what I think everybody else is expecting, she's going to be in the Royal Rumble match. She'll be in there for a while. She'll have her appearance. With the thought process, maybe she could win. But, no. Now, we could always be wrong. We could always have a seed of doubt, which we have right now. Mickie James being brought back in, and then, listen, do we want to go and play, fantasy booking right now? Charlotte Flair does not really have an opponent right now for the SmackDown Women's title. Mickie James could very well win, and as Knockouts champion, could go ahead and face Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. You really want to go that route? I don't have a problem with that match myself. I don't think it's that much of a stretch, but this company's not going to go ahead and represent Impact Wrestling. And the fact that I even said it on, if I'm right, that WWE actually recognized her title reign as Impact Wrestling's Knockouts champion, it's nice. I don't think anybody in WWE is going to be, let me tell you like this. It's more important for Impact Wrestling to be able to have that distinction than it is for WWE, right? WWE doesn't even know. For any fans right now, they're going to be those that listen to my fellow podcast brethren thinking, is this TNA still? They're not going to remember. They're going to still think it's TNA back in 2012, and it's Bischoff and Hogan still running the show. And Orlando Jordan is still a prominent member of the roster. All right, that's what people are going to be thinking. All right, and of course they're going to bash, and say their shit. Impact Wrestling's dead, and da. All right, yeah. Go ahead. You can go on and talk like that all you want. Not on this program, okay? It's nice to see her here. She retains the title. I don't think her appearance in the Royal Rumble changes anything at all, but they want to have some legends there. She's definitely a legend. When it comes to, you can see Mickie James being a Hall of Famer down the line. So have her here. And with Mickie James, on top of that, it's not as if she necessarily needs WWE anyway. I mean, she got a chance to produce NWA Empower. She would have never gotten to do that anywhere else. So, thank you, Billy Corgan, for giving her that opportunity and having that show together along with NWA 73 at the Chase in St. Louis. That was great. Loved it. Now, here, don't make mention of it. It's very rare that would have anybody else as a champion in another promotion. But the truth is, how often have that happen, right? Besides ECW. So, happen to have somebody as a champion from another wrestling promotion. But Impact Wrestling's not, they're not necessarily concerned about the fact that if Mickie James wants to work other promotions. Has not had a problem working in the NWA. Obviously has a relationship with Nick Aldis. And, Nick Aldis is very much prominent in that company. So the chance to go and do what they're doing there. For Mickie James, I like that she's just being the ambassador here and getting to work in multiple promotions. It only helps everybody else. So got no problem there. That's nice to have. And we only got to deal with this for, a couple of weeks? And we're less than 4 weeks from the Royal Rumble. And then, we can go ahead and consider things. We're 2.5 weeks away. So, yeah, no big deal. No big whoop. We'll forget about this by WrestleMania time anyway. Because Mickie James will be in the match. She'll have a featured spot. Maybe get an elimination or two. And I think that's all it's going to be. But at least she'll be there. At least she'll be recognized. And it'll be good to go have a nice way to kind of, put an amicable end to the way WWE had their thing with the release. It'll be a good gesture, a good professional gesture on both sides. So let's take a minute or two to go and talk about the Battle of the Belts. Listen, there was some things that happened. So looks like Cody and Brandy Rhodes, they both got in contact with somebody or they were infected by COVID, like everybody else has, like yours truly. Health and safety protocols in place, which is fine. And if we didn't get Cody Rhodes tonight, taking on Sammy Guevara in a rematch for the AWTNT Championship, that's okay. Dustin Rhodes coming out along with Arn Anderson and getting this match, totally fine with it. Sammy Guevara, Dustin Rhodes, hell of a match. I really enjoyed it. Good. Dustin Rhodes, man. Look, and I know some people might have complained about the fact that, after Ray Phoenix dislocated his arm and we all thought he broke it on live TV after a Canadian Destroyer threw a table. Well, that wasn't a Canadian Destroyer. It was a different move through the table, right? But nevertheless, to go ahead and see Dustin Rhodes, I mean, damn now, brother, that guy is just ageless. 52 years old. That guy is just, but again, he doesn't work a whole lot of in-ring action on AEW. He does get out there, but not as much as he has been. The man can still go. Just, it's that Rhodes thing. I don't know, man. He's much like, he definitely has the endurance like his daddy does. Because Dusty worked into his 50s. And no issues, man. Just can still go. Dustin takes care of himself. He's still in really good condition. Much like how Sting does. I mean, again, it's just some guys that are in there that are ageless wonders in that promotion. Just love it. Sammy Guevara gets the win. And interim TNT championship, which is fine. Listen, this is what UFC does. This is what you get in other companies. No problem here. I mean, they want to keep the TNT title intact. They want to make sure it's defended. So Sammy Guevara could hold on to this for a while. And he could defend that interim title for a while until we get to the point where Cody comes back. You could hold off Cody, and Sammy for a while if you want to. And let Sammy just continue to win and win and win, build this all up. And then, Sammy will just say, listen, interim nothing. I deserve a rematch. And I'm more than enough should be champion again. So Sammy could get the belt back. So I'm all in for this. It was a good match tonight. Did I expect them to go ahead and give us like they gave us Dynamite, they gave us Danielson and Hangman and Page, like another match like that or another CM Punk match? No. You can do that. But it was Clash of the Champions tonight. And when I remember TBS doing the Clash of the Champions, they did do these type of shows where you had that first match. This is just like Saturday Night's Main Event. It really feels like that. Except that it's not being done at night. It's being done 8 o'clock on prime time on TNT. This is fine. This is exactly what Clash of the Champions was, and kind of like what Saturday Night's Main Event was as well. Except you're just doing it in prime time because, it's not like you're trying to replace Saturday Night Live, and it's seasonal. It's a quarterly kind of thing. I enjoy that too. That's good stuff. Ricky Starks defeated Matt Sydal for the FTW Championship, and Ricky Starks still. I wish I see him more on. He's great on commentary, by the way. Him on Rampage is wonderful. Ricky Starks does really just talk. And it just sucks to not see more of Ricky Starks in the ring. Because I would love to see Ricky Starks going after the TNT title as well. Like, put it like this. When Cody and Sammy face each other again, let Sammy get that belt back. Because I don't want Cody to hold on to that belt personally when he's got to deal with Dan Lambert. Unless you're gonna let Scorpio Sky challenge Cody Rhodes for the TNT title. Like, I would see that. Like, if you want to do something with that TNT title, let's get Scorpio Sky into the mix. Let's get him into that right there. The guy's had a great record. Let's put him into that TNT title mix. Let's get Dan Lambert involved. Let's really build some stuff here, okay? You got Dan Lambert, you got Chris Jericho. You can kind of build some stuff off of there. That'd be fun. I'd enjoy some of that. But, right now, they're making a prestige thing right now with the FTW Championship. Personally, I think Hook should be the FTW champion down the line because right now he is getting definitely that great build. Hook is fantastic. I have not talked about him enough. I really enjoy Hook. Like, just the whole feel of him. It's like Taz. I love the submissions. I love the mannerisms, that cold, calculated look. His submissions are on point. The guy is good for being so young. He is really damn good. They built him to be a spectacle. He's an attraction now. I can't even say WWE has anybody like that either right now anyway. An attraction, man. It's Hook. Now you get Hook. Now you're really getting sent Hook. Now you're starting to feel that right there. It is good stuff. Really, really good stuff. And there might be people that are not so much into Riho, but the story with her and Dr. Brit Baker has been very well chronicled. They made it a point. Listen, Riho's the first champion on this brand. And no matter if you don't believe her size and her ability, she's like, I love seeing Riho on TV. Okay, when she's on Dark, how can you not love this woman? She's really good in the ring. For her size, she's fantastic. Like, everybody can go, the Yoshi wrestling stuff. Fuck that, bro. Okay? Riho, just, it's one of those spectacles where, like, when you see a smaller wrestler her stature and the way they build her up, and again, she's got great moves in the ring. They keep her so damn strong, has very few losses. They keep her so strong, she works so damn much. Like, I feel like I see her on Dark Elevation at least once a week. And she's fantastic out there. And they put her in nice, cool matches in there. And this right here, Brit Baker, she has run through everybody. Going to have to deal with Thunder Rosa down the line. But to go ahead and reheat up this feud with Riho again, just to go ahead and bring it back up. And the fact that Brit Baker never got a win on her. And Brit Baker continues to plunder. They did create a little bit of the rift between her and Jamie Hayter. That's going to definitely split somewhere down the line. And that will ultimately be when Brit Baker loses the belt. It will be the rift between her and Jamie Hayter. They might have patched things up here, but I really feel like they're just setting up the seed right now for Jamie Hayter and Brit Baker to have a feud after this. They'll have to have the grudge and the breaking up of their faction and then Rebel in the middle, who knows. They're going to have to do that somewhere down the line. So you got that. And Riho in a very good, strong match. But Brit Baker will find her way to win. She's the one that's over. She's the women's champion. And I love that she's in the championship spot still. It's not gotten old to see her with that belt. She's had it for so long. She's great. The stuff she does with Tony Schiavone is fantastic. I love the woman. Great stuff. And I got to say this, too, that I didn't get a chance to talk about at Dynamite, even talk about some of the things that happened. Now, Ruby Soho not winning at winning the TBS title, that's one thing. Sure, Jade Cargill might be a little bit green, but man, you know what? I could definitely overlook a bit, man, because when you look at her, what a presence. Like Jade Cargill she just exudes confidence. Just is a star when you see her out there. You know, the smug, smart Mark Sterling out there. She just has it. And give her some time. I don't think it's a big deal to go and see her here where she's not perfect out there. And then listen, Ruby Soho's not perfect either. Like, I mean, I don't think they really had much chemistry together. But that's what Jade Cargill needs, is somebody she has definite chemistry with and a good feud with over that TBS title. Somewhere down the line to get to that. But now, you know, there's other things that are going to be going on. Like the women's stuff, they got some pretty good stuff going on right now. Like I've enjoyed the Penelope Ford, the Bunny, Anna Jay, Ty Conte stuff. I loved all that. The Layla Hirsch stuff with Chris Statlander, I've enjoyed that over on Dark and a little bit rolled over into Rampage. I've enjoyed, I think the Mercedes Martinez Thunder Rosa feud is going to be fantastic if they get some time. I hope they really get some time. I've enjoyed Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida. I think that's been great. And, you know, having Brit Baker here with the Women's World title, now Jade Cargill, some strong champions you get right now. I really love it. And, you know, I even on Dynamite from Wednesday, because we were talking so much about the releases and the whole Nick Khan Triple H thing on Wednesday, I never got a chance to go and really just praise Dynamite because I don't do it enough. Like, I love that damn show. Dynamite and Rampage, AEW in general, I enjoy the brand immensely. But I've talked about that. You know, it is not even so much my Nitro, it's the Crockett era. It really gives me that kind of feel of that. And I enjoy Battle of the Belts. I just hope they don't have to get, you know, lopped into the same time as another pay-per-view. Like, hopefully NWA is not going to get caught up in one of those nights or MLW or something like that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Got to about an hour. It's what I wanted to do. Really good stuff tonight. And for those of you that listen to the show, if you want to hear more Impact Wrestling talk or more talk of the other organizations when it comes to AEW or MLW or NWA, you know, I'm watching it all. But I try to go along with what the audience wants to listen to. So I always think that for years, when I did do more of the other organizations, I didn't get as much attention or much traction with the show as I did if I talked WWE. So WWE basically is the bulk of about 90-95% of my talk on this program because it is, you know, that leads up to everything else. But then I'm also going to be just praising all these other brands because I enjoy them. And most importantly, because of what I feel like with this program. You know, unlike other radio shows out there, other podcasts, you know, I don't live or die on what WWE does because I have so much damn programming, so much wrestling to watch besides the 5 hours, or the 7 hours of WWE we have a week plus the 3 hour pay-per-views once a month. All I can tell you is that, I mean, we're blessed. We're blessed with wrestling. Hell, I don't have time to watch GCW or Evolve or PWG or, you know, NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, all that stuff. I don't have time to watch all that stuff. But for me to go and catch up with MLW, to catch up with NWA now with Power and with NWA USA and Impact Wrestling, I love it. Like, it's just so much wrestling that I enjoy and I really do get a kick out of. So I will leave it there. Thanks for listening in, as you always do. I would love your feedback. So if you want to in the YouTube channel right here, if you're listening in, do leave comments. If you want me to go ahead and talk more about the other organizations, the other promotions, I'd absolutely do that. Like, I definitely know if I talk about on the pay-per-views, you're absolutely going to want to listen to it. But other than that, I'd love to know if you want to hear more from me, give more commentary on the regular week-to-week goings-on of all these other promotions besides WWE and AEW. I'm happy to do that. I want to be able to go ahead and, you know, if you want to hear more of that kind of take because you don't hear that from other shows, let me know. I want to be able to fill that void. So anyway, great show tonight. I thought Hard to Kill was very good. I'll give it an A-. Only because I want to keep seeing some younger stars being pushed up to the forefront in Impact Wrestling. And there's not a whole lot there to work off of, but that's what I want to see more of. Like, you know, Trey Miguel's great. Give a little more Ace Austin out there. I don't know why they don't have him out there. And I hope Sami Callihan's coming back from injury very soon. Because him and Moose, I want to see that happen. That'd be really cool. Anyway, come back this coming Wednesday, going on Thursday, for another Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.